Welcome to Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I am your host, Hanan and Basha, the business doctor. Following our conversations with empowered women who woke up one day and consciously claimed, I am more than enough, I am worthy, I am empowered to grow. And along their empowering journey towards realizing their own potential and their quest for growth, they became a beacon of hope and guidance for others. May you also find your inner power to grow. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Empowered to Grow podcast. This is your host, Hanan and Basha. Today, the universe has spoken, so I can't say more than that. Christina and I met through the universe, through a contact that I got connected to, and this is how it goes. And I love the flow that this causes, because from our first conversation was like, we were nodding heads every time one of us was speaking, just because there was so much alignment. And thus, I'm really, really pleased to bring you this conversation, because I know there will be tons of takeaways with it. So my guest today is a speaker, author, trainer, lecturer, Christina Gerakiteys, and she's joining us all the way from Australia. So Christina, hi.
Hello, how are you? And you're absolutely correct. The universe has nodded in our direction so many times.
Thank you. I love this. Christina, I always start by asking each of my guests on their perspective of what empower to grow means to them. When I told you that's the name of the podcast, how does this phrase resonate with you?
Very deeply. So I often say that we empower the enablers, or we're in the business of empowering people to be their best and reach their potential. So empowerment is such a powerful, no pun intended, words, and it means that it comes from inside. Mm-hmm. So it comes from, for me, from the I am, from the me part of who we are, and we can't be empowered without having that sense of empowerment come from within us, assisted largely by what goes on the outside of us, and by those people that we hang around with, and also by the tensions that get created. So sometimes there's disempowerment that will lead to our empowerment, which I always find particularly interesting to find out the stories around that. But so the empowerment part is for me, empowerment is a much more important word than power, because if we show power, we're particularly, potentially powering over people, whereas when we're empowered and we're empowering, we're assisting and uplifting.
I love that. And that is so true. And as you said, it's kind of from I want to say you create a well, or you delve into a well that's already within you, and that's where you draw from.
Correct. I love that too. So, and you draw on that inner strength, you draw on the experiences, whether those experiences are positive or negative, they can all lead into that sense of empowerment and fill you with what it is that you need in order to step forward and stand secure in the space that you want to own.
That's true. Okay, from that perspective, then you're not only empowered to grow, but you empower others to grow. So we'd love to delve into your story a bit more and tell us a bit more about that, please.
So I've been so fortunate in my life to have been empowered by many people. Even so, my second grade teacher, when I was about 8 years old, noticed that I was feeling a little on the outer. So, I have a Greek heritage, which at times has been amazing for me. And when you're a 7-year-old at school, potentially is not that that wonderful when you are the minority and you're getting, picked on, etc. So I had a very empowering teacher when I was in the second grade. And one of the most beautiful things she wrote for me was, wherever you go, whatever you do, always paddle your own canoe. And at the time, clearly, as a 7-8-year-old, it kind of went a little bit over my head, but I've kept it and I read it. And as I grew up, I grew into what her words meant and what they were. And I'll never forget the time where we had it was the first day of school. There was a photographer that came to take photos of, students on the first day of school. And she selected me to be the one to give her the bunch of flowers. And there were so many pretty girls in the class, and, they were always chosen for this kind of thing. But I think she recognized what it was that I had been going through in previous years at the school. And that was such an empowering moment of my life. And I'll never forget how it made me feel. And I think part of the magic of empowering people has come from that. So I will do whatever I can to help other people feel that sense of empowerment and feel that unique gift that every single one of us is born with. And I think for me, that also comes with, we share 99.9% DNA, and that 0.1% is our point of difference. It's our special gift. It's how we are meant to go out and empower others and to help, the rest of the world and help other people find their place in that world. And it's that 0.1% that is crucial into bringing us together and creating community.
And that's in essence what you do now, as in that is your work and that's everything you're about.
Yeah, so we work with executive, we work with startups, and it's all about extracting what that is. So if you can define what somebody's purpose is, and I've been very fortunate to have done some work with Simon Sinek's team, for example. I haven't actually worked with Simon. I'm very careful to say that. But particularly Peter Docker, who is Simon's right-hand man in Europe. And I've had the absolute pleasure of working with him on a series of workshops. And that sense of purpose, when you find it, is quite remarkable. And we all have it. And it comes from all the positive, all the negative experiences that we've ever had in our lives. And if you can sort through that. So part of my work is to help people go, okay, what were the 10 best things that ever happened to you? What were the 10 things, that you would say were below the line and caused you stress or trauma, or, actually caused you to have feelings of self-doubt, lack of confidence, etc. And what we kind of do is we balance those, work through them until we find some kind of resolution for the things that potentially are below the line, but also the gifts that came with the things that are above the line. What were all the lessons from both? How do all those come together to form the jigsaw puzzle of the purpose and that 0.1% of what we're here to do? And once you actually nail that, once you realize what it is, once it falls within your body, it's quite a remarkable experience, and it allows you to stand secure in the space that you want to be. It allows you to have the potential to move forward in that space and to help other people in that particular space.
That's true.
So there's people doing work in leadership, there's people doing work in entrepreneurship, there's people doing work with school children, in trauma and in mental health. All these people are outward facing in their willingness to serve humanity. And it's in that outward facing service that we will create the world that we are proud to live in, and where we will help people create the best version of themselves that's possible, which is empowering, which is very much filled with that sense of purpose, and helps others. So yes, we do it with executives, we do it with entrepreneurs, and anybody that we can give that message to say, hey, open your mindset, because once your mindset is open, then you become open to the possibilities of what your future holds for you.
That's exactly it. And that 0.1% and that alignment to find your purpose is, in essence, your well of empowerment. Because when you can draw from your why and you know why you're doing this, you are empowered by default, or you remember where to go and kind of get from the source again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does come from, like, we are a body who helps our intellect, our emotions, and our spiritual self move forward. So the body is a wonderful vehicle for helping us move all that forward, and that's where we do find our essence. That's what makes us all unique, and that's what creates the experience of the humanity and the humane lives that we want to create. I actually don't believe that people are born intrinsically bad. I think that, and that's a judgment statement, and I don't really like making judgment statements, but there are some people who cause harm, a lot of harm to others, and there are people who lift others up. We traditionally find that the people that cause harm are the ones who have been harmed. The bully has been bullied, the abuser has been abused, etc. So if we can actually help those people find those gifts within themselves, find that purpose, find that resolve to want to make the world a better place. And we all have families. We're all somebody's, son or daughter, and then a lot of us are somebody's mother or father or cousin or sister or brother, whatever. So we all have this human connection, and sometimes that connection has been damaged. And if we can help people within that purpose find a resolution or an acceptance, it's not even a resolution. And we never say to anyone, get over any bad experience. It's how do we assimilate it? How do we learn from it? How do we release it so that we can then live in freedom to move forward?
I love that. So from where you stand right now, what advice would you go back and impart on your 19-year-old self?
It's going to be okay. Learn, like, don't ever lose. So I was really fortunate in that one of the very first transformational experiences I had was when I was 19. I was sent to a leadership experience, and I was very too cool for school to go to this leadership experience. And I had an escape plan already plotted. I was going to fall violently ill on the Tuesday. I was going to give it a day, fall violently in on the Tuesday, drive myself home because so I had the escape plan all done, right? And it turned out to be one of the most remarkable experiences of my life. And with any leadership program, it's not about what you learn ultimately in the leadership stakes. It's what you ultimately learn about yourself that will make you a good leader and that will help you lead others. And we use the term lead from behind, and it's so true. It's empowering, to use the word again. It's empowering others through your own empowerment to move forward and be the best people they can be. And that is a leader. So we lead ourselves, we lead our communities, we lead our families. At some point, we are all leaders. And so I was really fortunate to have this experience where, I can tell you by day 3, I looked in the mirror and I went, oh, who's in the bathroom with me? And it was myself, and I didn't actually recognize who I had just changed my perception of myself in those 3 days. And it was the most remarkable experience. So when you say 19, what would I say to I'd go, just take it on and just move it forward. And, it's been, so that was one of the main reasons as to why I do what I do now. And then I had another transformational experience in the leadership field some years later. Actually, I've had a series of them. So one of them was quite, I thought it was quite bad at the time. I suffered. I was sick. My doctor actually said to me, if you're not on sick leave, and I'd never had a sick day in my life, if you're not on sick leave on Monday, I'm going to put you in a hospital. That's all my signs were like, you are really sick. You cannot, do this kind of thing. In the end, it turned out to be one of, as things are, and we talked earlier about the universe aligning.
Yes.
It turned out to be a big blessing, because it actually led me or pushed me onto the path that I am now, because potentially I might have stayed in this really nice, secure, wonderful, high-paying, position and not left to follow what I have since followed and what I really love doing. So that was kind of that's how we use the bad experiences to go, okay, what did I learn out of this, etc. And then I had another transformational experience when I first went to became involved with Singularity University and went to an executive program, and it completely validated every single piece of imagination, moonshot thinking, what I wanted to do, what I actually believed in, my positive attitude, my optimism for the world. It validated that for me and gave me the courage then to take that forward. So, it's a series of transformational events, and that's what I absolutely love creating for other people, because I've experienced the power of them and what they can do for you and how they can move you forward. So that I guess is my reason for being, is to create as many of those opportunities as possible. And that's whether you're an executive or whether you're a startup, or whether you're somebody. There were days when I was in a tertiary institution, and my door would just keep opening, and people would come in with problems and issues, and we'd just go, we'd turn into not counseling sessions, because I'm not a counselor, but we would just turn into conversational sessions where they felt comfortable enough to trust me with what was going on in their lives. And we managed to work through some of those issues. We would, I would refer them to people that could help them in a more professional way than I could, you know, as far as mental health and the support that they needed. But, you know, every single person that you talk to takes something away from you. So let them take away something positive from you, and let them take away something that makes them feel, even if it's just a fraction lighter than when they met you.
I like to think of it now, in retrospect and reflecting on all the experiences I had, as you said, I like to think that every person, every experience, every situation we're put in leaves us with an imprint. And when you're aware of that in the work that you are doing, for example, then you are consciously leaving a positive imprint on someone's life. And as you were talking about your second grade teacher, that was way back. But that person, that teacher, imprinted you so positively that it literally changed the trajectory of your life. And I think now it's become my mission as well, is to be very conscious of the energy I'm emitting and the imprints I'm leaving on people, because I know that, and especially like, you know, as you said, and I work with startups as well, one statement could make or break someone, could make or break their dream, their vision, you know, kind of the impact that they're trying to create in the world. And I think that's why it's very important. And that's why I also think that it is hurt people, you know, the saying. And sometimes we have to be very conscious that it's not an excuse to hurt other people and to negatively imprint on them, because that has such a ripple impact effect that you don't want to have that responsibility.
There is so much truth in what you just said, and it can be a throwaway statement that somebody makes that can actually impact you greatly. I remember, you know, my father, so I was, you know, I loved studying at school. I had a very curious mind. I still do. You know, I'm on this nonstop trajectory of learning. It doesn't matter, you know, in what capacity. But I remember coming home from school and saying to my dad, "Dad, I got 98% for my maths test, you know, but because I topped the class in the maths test and I got 98%. And Dad said, "Oh, ha, 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 what happened to the other 2%?" Jokingly, because he was so proud of all my accomplishments.
Yeah.
And I went into, oh my God, I'm a failure.
Yep.
Because I didn't get the other 2%. Now, we can laugh about that now, and I have dealt with that since that experience. But the issues of perfectionism that gave me, and perfection leads to procrastination.
Yes.
And the issues of, perfectionism, procrastination that left me with for quite a number of years was quite amazing. And it was a throwaway comment from my dad, because he was feeling proud, because, but that's how I had taken it on at that time. So, you know, and that's not to say that we have to mind every single word, because I tell you, I learned from that experience later on. And, you know, there was something in the unpacking of that experience for me when I finally realized, you know, where all my perfectionist, you know, tendencies had come from. And when I drilled back far enough to discover where they had come from, you know, and there were great lessons in the unpacking. But we do need to be mindful about how we speak to people. And I do believe that, and that's not to say like we cannot watch every single word that we say, because what he said, I took on because of how I was feeling in other aspects.
It's your perception of it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, and perception is quite a wondrous thing. But, you know, we to actually, so if that positive statement had that effect on me, just imagine some of the really hateful, hurtful comments that people hear that then get replicated from them to other people, that lead us, you know, into not potentially being the most amazing human that we can be. So, you know, if we do things with love, if our motivation is love, and if our motivation is to create better relationships and to create, you know, a wonderful planet that is filled with love and hope and compassion and kindness. I have a colleague who says, do everything with kindness, you know, and she'll measure everything that she does by kindness. Am I doing this with kindness? Did I say that with kindness? Will this program that I'm writing emit kindness? You know, she's a marketer. They do a lot of digital marketing, etc. But she goes, will this program I'm writing emit kindness? So there's a measure, you know, in that. So I think if we measure, or if we set ourselves that benchmark and that sense of purpose, that why, then I think we affect people in the most positive way that we can. And that's not to say that we're going to affect everybody in the most positive way.
Okay, so the other end of the spectrum, your 90-year-old self, 90, what if she had the ability to send you kind of a message in a time machine? What would you like her to thank you for today?
Oh, wow. I would like her to thank me for that continuous thirst for knowledge, because I do believe it keeps you young. So I hope when I'm 90, I'm still running around and playing and learning and reading and even public speaking and maybe authoring a different book and having that positive impact on, I hope I've got grandchildren by then, I guess, 90. So I hope that people, again, the same thing, I hope people walk into a room and feel better walking out of it because we've had an amazing conversation, or they've learned something, or even if they've learned how not to be. So I hope to have that still have that thirst for knowledge. So I would be thanking myself for that thirst for knowledge, for the self-discovery that I have innately and purposefully followed throughout my whole entire life. And I would like her to thank me for being kind and compassionate and loving, and then acknowledging when I slip up and I'm not quite the kindest, most compassionate, most loving person that I could have been. So, that element of forgiveness as well. I hope I can look back and forgive myself for the things that potentially my younger self might crucify myself for.
Yeah, I love that. As a speaker, that's our last question. You're on a stage and you're talking to tens of thousands of women, and the topic is about being empowered to grow. What would be that last message you leave them with?
Oh, there's so many. Can I make it a really, really long last message? I think that the ability to connect within yourself. So to draw all those aspects of yourself together and have faith and that belief in yourself, that once you've drawn your mind and your body and your soul and your heart together, that gives you the strength, and that's where you can operate from every day, and that you stand secure in the space that you've chosen, that you become outward facing in the messages that you want to give people, and that we leave a legacy that we're really proud. So each and every one of us is responsible, I believe, for leaving a legacy that we can be proud of. And it's not just, the next generation. So it's not the grandchildren that I'm imagining at 90, or maybe I'll have great grandchildren by then, I don't know. But it's not just our Indigenous tribes a legacy is for 7 generations in front of us. It's not just for our children and our children's children. It's what condition is the planet in 7 generations? What are the relationships in 7 generations? What kind of society do we have in 7 generations time? And they're the kind of messages that everything we do, every conscious decision that we make, and every unconscious decision, every unconscious comment that we make affects somebody down the road. What is the ripple effect that you want to have now and for 7 generations into the future? Wow. That's a really long message.
I love that. I never thought, I know I'm personally working on my legacy in sense of, I always thought that I want to be remembered as a person who could summon the sunshine on a rainy day. And
oh my God, that's so lovely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
And that for me is kind of how I want to show up in the world and how I want to be remembered. But this 7 generations, that's going to get me thinking a bit more about that statement and how the applications of it. I love that, actually.
But just imagine if you had that effect on 7 generations into the future, that there was sunshine even on a cloudy day, and that we appreciated the cloudy day and the rainy day and the stormy day, because we know that the sun's going to shine through, and its essence in what you're saying is there. I think that's a beautiful legacy to leave and to carry forward. So, oh wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, Christina, I know that, we've had conversation before where we could chat for hours, and I want to pick your brain a bit more, but I'm going to reserve some of that for the uncharted discussions. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your energy with us.
Thank you. And I'm going to very much draw the sunshine on one of my windows here and be very grateful for this discussion. Thank you so much.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you in virtual space or connect with you?
Okay. I'm in LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, they can email me. So I will, whatever information that you want. And I welcome communications and I welcome conversation. So please feel free to put my LinkedIn, my Instagram,
I will.
my email.
They'll be in the show notes. Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Christina. And for everyone listening and viewing us, wherever you are, we hope that you think of your legacy and for the impact you will create for the 7 generations to come. But more importantly, how are you imprinting on yourself, on others today, and to consciously show up in the world with this big heart and a lot of kindness and compassion. As always, wishing you a lot of prosperity and abundance and love. And we're going to see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Grow podcast. For further engagement with a tribe of empowered women, join my Facebook group, Empowered to Grow, or visit my website, www.hananalbasha.com. I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, know that empowered you empowers others. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all.